It's still happy hour with John Gaskins. This round's on me.
Well, every once in a while, we like to beam happy hour up to the Twin Cities and get analysis from the Minnesota Vikings. You really can't get from anyone else because he's got an inside track, plenty of access to the players, the elite analyst's mind of someone who played 10 years in the NFL, 6 with the Vikings, and he's been around for over a decade as part of the radio crew traveling with the team and right there with them on the sidelines during games on the Vikings Audio Network. He is South Dakota Sports Hall of Famer Ben Leber joining us from the TV set of his local TV show in Minneapolis, and it's great to see your face as we sit here between mini camp and training camp. And how are you? How the hell are you?
John, I'm doing great. Yeah, this is what the football abyss is that we like to call it. Not a whole lot to discuss. I mean, there's not a lot of news. The only time there really is news is if somebody gets arrested at this time, and we don't want that to happen. So let's hope that, at least for the Vikings' sake, that it's very quiet. Outside of maybe what we get into with the supplemental draft, which, I don't know if they're ever going to do anything with the Vikings themselves.
Well, knowing Vikings history, no arrests ever happen. Especially during training camp. So we're before training camp. So, I think we're maybe the law of averages says this won't be the year that it happens. Supplemental draft, since you brought it up, this was far from my A topic, but let's itch the mosquito bite here. Brendan Sorsby, 6'3", 230. We know the whole story and why he's not in college football anymore. But he's now going to be available. Efficient passer, great runner, played against a lot of bad defenses in the Big 12. I'm sure you've seen other Twin Cities headline makers make the headline. Should they consider Sorsby on the roster? What do you think?
I don't think they should consider him. It would be, I think, a really compelling pick because he would obviously, I think for every team, he's going to redshirt in 2026. I don't know if it's got to be the right situation for him to really compete. Maybe for Arizona Cardinals, if they can't get Brissett's situation figured out, certainly not in Pittsburgh, probably not with the Jets. So, Arizona is probably the only team that I think it makes sense for him to actually compete and maybe be ready by the quarter point of the season. Most teams are going to look at him, Vikings included, as a 2027 prospect. And that being said, for the right price, okay, I can understand how you'd want to shelve him and keep him on your team and just see what he has. But you kind of mentioned it. I think there are a lot of question marks with him when it comes to high profile games, having the it factor. Does he have the intangibles to be an NFL quarterback? Statistically, yes. Physically, yes. He checks all the prototype boxes. But when you are 0-8 the last 2 years in the month of November and 1 of 11 in the last 3 years in the month of November, when in college football, those are the games that matter. That's when you're playing the highest amount of competition. That's when you're playing the best defenses, and you have a mark that it's that low. It begs the question, do you have what it takes to be a consistent competitor and ultimately a championship level quarterback? I don't know. Maybe not in the short term, possibly in the long term, but are the Vikings willing to go that far and give them that much of a runway to figure it out?
Right. Well, those November games, there's more of a pass rush. You want to stand tall, go past your first read. Not exactly a thing that he loves to do or is great at when the rush is coming. And so, but that leads us right into J.J. McCarthy and his rookie growing pains, 29th ranked NFL quarterback by PFF. And then you have Kyler Murray, who you get for basically a bag of peanuts from the Arizona Cardinals, and they split reps evenly. I can't remember if we've even chatted since they picked up Kyler Murray. So what did you make of that? How do you see him in a Vikings offense if he's the guy?
It makes sense. Especially for the price. If Arizona's basically taken 95% of the salary this year, that's great. Let them go ahead and pay it. I'm excited about it. I can't say that I'm over the moon about it because I think that I'm not one that looks at Kyler's career arc and says, "Oh, he absolutely without any sort of competition just is given this spot." I think he's in a position where he has to earn it. And I think JJ's in a position where they have to earn it. Like, I really hope that it is as much of a real competition as they make it sound like it to be. Early on when they said, well, it's a competition, I'm like, is it really though? I mean, you're not going to bring in Kyler Murray and have him be the backup, are you? So I didn't necessarily think it was real. And then once the practices started, wow, they're splitting reps 50-50. Kyler's having a good day, JJ's having a bad day. Then everything kind of flip-flops, and JJ's having a good day and Kyler's having a bad day. And at the start of OTAs, it's like Kyler's saying all the right things. Doesn't look like there's a chink in his armor. JJ, people didn't love what he said in that first week of camp. And then we go all the way to the end, and JJ has a great day on one of the last days, and he has a really polished answer. And then you sense a little bit of frustration from Kyler Murray after he throws 2 interceptions in a 7-on-7 period. And you're kind of thinking like, oh, maybe he's starting to feel a little bit of this actual competitive pressure, which he's never felt before in his career. And that's a good thing. So, as we go into training camp, my guess and my hope is that it is a real competition. They really are going to duke it out.
Yeah.
Nobody is inherently given the job, and may the best man win. And I would probably put it at 70-30 that Kyler is going to win the job, but I'm holding out hope that the competition makes him better. The competition makes McCarthy better, because history tells us both starting quarterbacks will get injured at some point in time in the season. Yeah. And the backup quarterback's going to have to come in for a game or 2 or 3.
Considering the complexities, the well-known complex nature of Kevin O'Connell's offense, and Kyler Murray alluded to it in those remarks, he's a little frustrated from splitting reps, specifically just because he feels like he needs more of them to get the offense down. In your mind, at what point do they need to make the decision so the reps aren't split, and whoever wins the battle gets to take more, because it's not like J.J. McCarthy has got his master's degree in that offense either. When do they need to stop splitting reps?
I would say by going into that 3rd preseason game. It's my thought that they'll both get a hefty amount of splitting the reps in both the first 2 preseason games. And by that 3rd game, nobody's going to play their starters really. And you're going to have 2 full weeks to get ready and name a starter, and the starter's going to get 95% of the reps in practice with the ones. And I think that would be a fair time. It would give everybody, the team, time to adjust, figure out who your backup quarterbacks are going to be and all that stuff, with a week left of training camp and then 10 days until your first game. So, I think it's going to be competitive for the first 2 weeks or first 2 games. And then after that, I would expect them to name the starter.
Why do you figure, and this might sound like a Captain Obvious question, but I want to hear the analyst's answers to make us all smarter. Why do you figure it's going to be a 70-30 in favor of Kyler Murray?
Because his playmaking ability. I mean, already right now, he already, just from a playmaking ability and experience, probably is just better than J.J. McCarthy. I think where JJ can sort of creep into that percentage is if he can learn how to layer throws, open up the offense where they're not avoiding middle of the field reads. If he looks like a complete quarterback and his processing speed and his accuracy, increases substantially from last year, which it could. I don't know why it couldn't. I mean, he's a heck of an athlete, and he's got much more time in the system. If he mentally can make bigger strides and he shows actual quarterback development, then I think you make it a little bit more competitive, and you chew into that 70%. Plus the fact that KOC is going to have to give way a little bit to what Kyler does best as a quarterback. And then Kyler is going to have to really adapt to being an under the center quarterback in this system. So there's a bigger adjustment for those two to meet in the middle versus what JJ has already shown that he can do. JJ's problem is just decision-making, processing, understanding the defenses. I think that he is athletic enough. I think that he can make enough plays. I think that he has the intangibles. We've seen it many times last year in the fourth quarter. It's just a matter of reps and experience. And he doesn't have to adapt to the philosophy. Like, he already is that type of quarterback that can fit into this scheme. It's a big question mark whether or not Kyler can.
So you kind of answered a question I was going to ask about the fit for Kyler Murray, his type of quarterbacking MO in this system. So I'll skew it to this. Sam Darnold 2 years ago, maligned for several years on bad teams with lines that didn't protect him, bad defenses, always playing from behind, mistakes galore. And then he comes to Minnesota and has the best year of his career. And then we see what the bag he gets in Seattle and wins a Super Bowl. So what's coming next. Kyler Murray's been with the Cardinals, and for most of his 7 years there, bad offensive lines, lowly rated defenses, maybe not as awful, but not far off from what Sam Darnold experienced. I know there are two different styles of quarterbacks, but could you see this potentially happening, that Murray just needs better things around him, starting with one of the better receiving trios, we all think, in the NFL, and what was a top 5 defense should be somewhat decent again this year, that he buds in this surrounding?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have a lot of trust in what the environment has been built up to be with the Vikings. I mean, from the top down, the NFLPA, they win all these surveys. They win all the player and coaches surveys, from top down, organization, leadership, training staff, all that stuff. The Arizona Cardinals have never been that. They've been at the bottom of that list. So even just from a support structure, Kyler has the best opportunity to be successful here. So that, coupled with what we know out of KOC and the way he can develop veteran quarterbacks, is it seems like he has a lot of ingredients there for Kyler to have a great season. But again, it comes down to, look, Kyler's never been a quote unquote pro style quarterback. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, it's an adopted air raid system, adapted a little bit for the NFL. It was 90% shotgun, and then Drew Petzing and that whole offense the last couple of years, much more under center, and Kyler did okay. Now he's going to have to be under center even more. What does that look like? I don't know. I think that he has a lot of the traits that you're looking for to be successful. Again, I think it's going to take some time for him to really understand the nuances of Kevin's offense, but he's got the X factor, and that's his athletic ability. When things break down, whether the defense jumps all over them or he makes a bad read, or whether he's not processing the game quickly down the field, he can just take off and make plays with his legs, and there's nobody better in the NFL that can do that.
I think this is my last one on the quarterbacks, and I don't know how much it matters, but it's fun coming from a former player who, with the Vikings, went through a few quarterback quandaries just in your 5 years there. There's, I'm sure, in the locker room a Kyler camp and a JJ camp, and it's well documented that JJ, correct me if I'm wrong, is fairly popular with most of his teammates. Good leader, good dude. What's that like to be a part of, and how much do you really think that affects, who's going to be the chosen one here?
Well, it's funny because that leadership style matters. It matters, but it doesn't matter more than production on the field.
Yeah.
So if Kyler goes out there and is a dog and he's producing, he's getting the ball in the right places, everybody's getting a chance to eat, offense is scoring points, let me tell you right now, John, nobody cares whether or not he takes the guys out for dinner. Nobody cares that he may stick to himself. Nobody cares that he may have a small entourage that follows him around. Those things only matter when you aren't playing well. Then it's an easy excuse into there's not a lot of chemistry with some of the guys on the team. He's just not that type of guy. So it matters only when it seems to have to matter. I don't think it's like a big sticking point, because if he's balling out and he's playing well, nobody's going to care that he leaves the locker room and doesn't say goodbye to anybody and goes back to his own family, and you don't see him again until 8:00 the next morning.
Everybody's going to be happy with winning. Yeah, that'll develop chemistry real quickly. Yeah. Defense, again, top 5 rated last year. No one really disputes. Ryan Flores most of the time crushes it. Cordell, our video producer, made a great point from the Zimmer era. Early on, it felt like the double-A gap blitz was working, and eventually everybody kind of figured it out in the NFL. How sustainable do you feel things are with this defensive success from the last year or two? And are there enough playmakers? We've mentioned that word with the quarterback. Are there enough playmakers on this defense for it to hold up its end of the bargain while the quarterback thing sorts itself out?
Honestly, if the question is, do we have enough playmakers on this defense? Remains to be seen. It's a question mark. We lost a hell of a playmaker in Jonathan Grenard. We've saw splashes of Dallas Turner, but can you do it for 17 games consistently? I don't know. It's a question mark. Do we have a dog out there at the cornerback position? I don't know. We have to wait and see. I definitely think that we have the linebackers, the inside linebackers. I definitely think Van Ginkel is a dog. He's a stud. He makes plays, but he's got health issues. You know, how consistent can he play for 17 games? And then you have the safety spot that I think is, you know, we talk about Harrison Smith all the time, but we haven't seen any of the safeties really step up to be that force and that guy either, and that intimidating factor when Harrison's not there. Josh Metellus benefits from having a Harrison Smith type of player. And when he's not out there, I feel like Josh just is not quite the same dynamic player. You can't use him in his multitude of roles. And I think his play sort of quiets down a little bit. So is the scheme, can it be as successful? Yes. Do we have question marks on who the real playmakers are going to be consistently? I do. I absolutely do. And that's, I trust B-Flow. I trust the scheme. We just need some playmakers to step up early in the season.
They could be rumors, reckless speculation, wishful thinking, but what kind of chances do you give Harrison Smith coming on back? And maybe not even until the bye week. You know, you hear that. What's your sense on that, if it's a possibility?
I think he's a guy that does love the game of football. And last year he talked about how playing in this system is really fun for him. Like it brings the fun back into the game. You know, I think when he was out early in the season with some health issues, it really gave him a perspective of how much he just missed the game and how much he liked being around the guys. And so I would not put it past him, even though it was the second year in a row was emotional goodbyes, watching him walk around the locker room and hugging everybody and seemingly looks like he's riding off into the sunset. The Vikings certainly treated him like that in the last home game. But I would not put it past him to reset his emotions, feel good physically. John, you mentioned the bye week. I think that makes a lot of sense to come back during the bye week or a week before and use that bye week to get physically ready. I could also see him waiting to come back more so midway through the season. And just if the Vikings were going on a big run and he wants to be a part of it and they think that his leadership can put them over the top in the playoffs, then I think they bring him back in probably a reduced role and he'll be kind of a player coach sort of thing and a mentor in the locker room. I definitely could see that happening as well. So I would say that, again, probably 65% chance that he comes back and plays this year.
Yeah, I'm trying. Do you know off the top of your head when the bye week is? It's week 6. Okay, I just found it. So it's after 5 games, mid-October. So that's not even quite close to the middle of the season there, to your point about even later than the bye week. Just a couple more as we land the plane. Your impressions of the new general manager, Nolan Teasley, the fact that he has shaken up the front office and he's brought 2 of the top 3 lieutenants from the Seattle Seahawks who are well regarded with their skill sets. I won't dive into the weeds. You can if you want. But, you know, how this all looks from a guy who's, you know, has played and been around different sorts of GMs and GM structures with the Vikings over the years?
A lot of credit to the Wilfs for taking a very pragmatic and thorough approach. It's something that I've learned that they do internally through every job opening that's out there. They are very diligent. They want to make sure that they are making sound decisions and giving everybody a chance to try to earn the job. And so when they announced that they're kind of taking their time through this process, you have to feel pretty comfortable that they went through all the paces and put them through the paces. So I love the fact that they went out and got a Super Bowl winning assistant GM to lead our franchise. I like the fact that he is a football guy first, a learning and budding analytics guy. That was his job kind of later on with the Seattle Seahawks, is to incorporate some of their analytics. He goes out and gets Healy from the Cleveland Browns, and they are widely known as the best analytics organization in the league. So they go out and get this guy who has built all these softwares and built all these programs to just be another factor in the decision-making. It seems well balanced. Everything from top to bottom with the hiring process, the guy that they the guy that they hired, and then all the people that he brings in, it's from both sides. It's Kirshner, who's a scout, local guy, football guy. It's Healy from the analytics side, from the academic side. He's going to bring them all together to make decisions, both free agency and in the draft. And the other thing about Healy is, he was sort of tasked with a lot of in-game statistical analysis as well. So we may see a little bit more of that gameplay decision-making as well when it comes to, wow, I mean, that seems unconventional. Well, they're doing that. They're making that call because we've got a guy that's kind of breaking down the analytics of when to go for it on certain down and distances, at what point in time of the game, and all that stuff. So don't just think that the analytics are just about picking up players. It's also about what's going to happen on Sundays.
Very well. Appreciate your time. We'll let you get to the show. It looks like you don't need makeup. Or you already have makeup on. I don't know.
I haven't even put it on yet, John. I got to go do that.
Amazing. We'll catch up during training camp. This is always fun. Glad you could make it work.
Sounds good, man. Talk soon.
He's Ben Leber. Stay right there so this gets processed. And for video producer Cordell Wright, I'm John. Happy hour and cheers.
You need anything else, John?
No, I think I'm good, Greg. I think I'm going to tap out.
All right. Have a good night.